Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Marxism Made Massively Easy. In this series, we're going to talk about one of history's most controversial theories of politics, economics, and society, Marxism. Now, in the modern Western world, just saying the word Marxism can make people's skin crawl and hair stand on end. I mean, what's the first thing you think about when you hear the word Marxism? Maybe you think of the old Soviet Union, Stalin, breadlines, secret police, the Cold War, perhaps. All of these things are indeed a part of Marxism's history and are worth discussing, but there's a lot more to Marxism than these negative stereotypes. Because, like it or not, the modern world has been shaped by Marxism and by Karl Marx. In fact, there are very few writers in history whose works have become so popular so quickly in so many places than Karl Marx. And if we focus on just the bad side of Marxism, then we deprive ourselves of the opportunity to really explore one of the most influential, persistent, and, I believe, valuable sets of ideas ever to be conceived. Now, obviously, Marxism is an absolutely massive subject, so it's not that easy to know where to start. And after a bit of soul-searching, I've decided to begin this series with what I feel is the most important theory for understanding the basics of Marxism. The labor theory of value. Now, this sounds a bit boring, but it's super important. This theory is controversial, though, even among Marxists. Some people think it's the basis of all Marxist theory, while others argue it's totally outdated and just plain wrong. Either way, you cannot understand Marx and where he was coming from without first understanding the labor theory of value. So in this episode, I'm going to explain the labor theory of value, what it is, and why it was so important for Marx. And in a later video, I'll discuss some of the common criticisms of the theory. So anyway, without further ado, let's ask, what is this theory? According to Marx, a commodity has a value because it is a crystallization of social labor. The greatness of its value or its relative value depends upon the greatness or less amount of that social substance contained in it. That is to say, on the relative mass of labor necessary for its production. Okay, so what the hell does that mean? Well, let's unpack it piece by piece. First of all, most people work for a living. You probably do. When you work, you create stuff. Maybe physical products or commodities, maybe YouTube videos, maybe services of some kind. Either way, whatever you do, Marx believed your work has some kind of value. For example, let's say you start the day with some wool that you purchased for like $1. Now, over the course of a day, you take that wool and you turn it into a nice pair of woolen winter socks. At the end of the day, you then sell the socks for, $5, let's say. Now, how did you do that? How did you take a piece of wool that was worth $1 and sell it for $5? Where did that extra $4 come from? To Marx, the answer was simple. It came from you, or your labor, to be more specific. By making a pair of socks, you physically transfer the value of your labor into the wool itself, thus increasing its value. So to Marx, the new value of the socks is equal to the value of the raw materials used in their production, the wool, and the value of the labor you put into them. So in a way, the end result, the socks, are actually a crystallization, to use Marx's term, or a physical manifestation of your labor power. The socks literally represent your contribution to society, and this is reflected in their value. Now, let's move on and ask, why is labor theory of value, or LTV for short, so important for Marxism? Well, the first thing it does is distinguish Marxism from market-centric economic theories. For example, most modern liberal economists more or less reject LTV. Instead, they argue that labor doesn't necessarily affect the price of a product at all. Rather, they argue the price of a product or a service is, well, whatever anyone's willing to pay for it. So if you're willing to pay $5 for a Starbucks unicorn frappuccino, that's how much it's worth. But if everyone refuses to buy that frappuccino because they think it's too expensive or whatever, then the price might go lower. The opposite is true if Starbucks is selling out. They might increase the price. But the point for liberal economists is that everything is a question of supply and demand. Now, liberal economists really like this supply-demand approach for two big reasons. First one is, obviously makes a ton of sense. Secondly, it does something really important. It establishes the notion that the marketplace is at the center of all society. After all, if value is determined at the point of sale, then the point of sale is the marketplace, and all human interactions are about, exchanging values, then heck, the marketplace is basically the center of our civilization and our lives. So in this theory, in liberal economic theory, everything revolves around the marketplace. Now, contrary to popular belief, Marx didn't reject the laws of supply and demand. In fact, he didn't even disagree that the marketplace plays a really important role in determining prices. But he felt like there was more to the story. He believed that market forces were just the tip of the iceberg, or like ripples on the surface of the water. But beneath, he felt there were deeper laws that determined how the economy works. And a big part of this was the labor theory of value. So why? Why was Marx so obsessed with this idea that the market wasn't the be-all and end-all? Well, the simple explanation is that Marx wanted to create a theory that would accurately reflect the real-life experiences of ordinary people. He wanted something that the average factory worker could relate to understand, to even use in their daily life. Even in today's world, ask yourself, where do you spend most of your life? Do you spend most of your waking hours in the marketplace, for example, the mall or the shopping center or something, Starbucks? Or does your life revolve primarily around your workplace? Now, for some people, that might be a tough question to answer, especially if you're a shopaholic or something, or you spend a lot of time hanging out at the mall. But for most people, let's be honest, life primarily revolves around your work. You do it probably 8 hours a day, maybe more. So it kind of defines your life in a way. So if Marxism is supposed to be a theory for the average Joe, then this should reflect this reality that work is at the core of who we are and how we experience the real economy. So this is why the labor theory of value is so important to Marx on a really basic philosophical level, because it situated the workplace at the center of all social interactions. To Marx, your work determines who you are, your place in society, how you act, how you think, and ultimately how you contribute to the wider world. In other words, to Marx, primarily, value stems from the workplace, not the marketplace. So how well does the labor theory of value stand up to scrutiny? Well, to find out, tune in to the next exciting episode of Marxism Made, massively easy.